Hi, I'm Cindy Halpern on the North Shore of Long Island on this rainy and windy day. Perfect time to do a YouTube. Some miscellaneous thoughts. Halloween was yesterday. I had gone to CVS and I'd gotten pirate coins and just generally kind of expensive candy, much more than people usually give out. Here in Centerport, we get on this street maybe 12 or 14 trick-or-treaters between 5 and 6, and that's about what we get on the street that I live on. So anticipating that I get about 12 callers, I got about 12 good individual candies. And seeing the face of the little kids, especially one little boy, he was so excited. I guess he eats those pirate coins, those chocolate pirate coins. Ted thought they looked like gout. That's Jewish chocolate candy given Hanukkah. I guess they looked like that, but they were pirates coins for sure. It was Halloween. I was thinking about my grandson Scott in Orlando. He went out trick-or-treating yesterday, and my daughter Facebooked his picture so I could see him in his costume. My heart was really there. I've gone down there in the past for Halloween. Went to Disney's Halloween one time, my daughter, my grandson, and I, and then other times more at the Millennium when my daughter and former son-in-law moved down there. That's what they were doing then. So I have some happy memories of Scott at Halloween, and I was just very sad to miss this, but that's what it means when your kids move away and you don't see them every time. That's what it means. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I read this article, I saw something where they're talking about the victims of the Holocaust, and they were talking about that every victim of the Holocaust had upper class values and education and precision, and that bothered me. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Plenty of Jews, had reached the upper levels of society and they were victims of the Holocaust. But what bothers me about that is that every kind of Jew was murdered. Every Jew, whether Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, non-believer, mixed parentage, every kind of worker, from very educated to illiterate and everything in between. And it's a positive kind of stereotype, but I still have a problem with it. It's just leaving out the middle. And I don't want that. I want everybody to remember. When I went to Treblinka to see where my extended family was murdered, and of course I put stones down at the Austrian monument because that's where they were from, except my great uncle, he was from Poland, but the rest of them were Viennese. My 4 cousins and my great aunt were Viennese, and there were stones there for famous people and for towns and everything. But I think about the average person, or maybe the small shopkeeper, or someone who was a mother and just did that, or a grandmother, or just so many people were murdered in the Holocaust, so many stories, and some humble. And Jews in America especially like to aspire to success, and there's nothing wrong with that. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. I didn't aspire to that. I wanted to be a Holocaust historian, which I kind of done in small measure. Not exactly what I wanted, but I've certainly written about and traveled. And so, but he wanted me to be a lawyer. He thought big for me. My father was first generation American, but my mom was the refugee from Nazi Europe, and Mom wanted me to have a child, despite the odds of the muscular dystrophy in the family. She wanted that, and despite my mother being extremely educated, she was going to be a medical doctor, and she knew 6 languages. She was good in chemistry and physics, very well educated woman, and I guess she didn't have that insecurity, and she just looked for me to be a mother, and I don't know what else. I mean, they both parents were very supportive of me going to college, but my father especially was very supportive of me going to college, but to aspire to be a lawyer, which is not what I wanted to be at all. And of course, I had two brothers with muscular dystrophy. My older brother actually lived to go to college and graduate college. He died shortly after that. And my little brother was very intelligent. He could have been anything he wanted to. And he died at 15. My sister, well, she was mildly retarded, you know, but she worked within her limits. And she was always encouraged to work, which she did till the day she died. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we can't dismiss people who aren't the higher levels of society. They're not the professors, they're not the doctors, they're not the lawyers, they're not the engineers, they're not the big business people. I mean, there's the rest of us, and the rest of us count too. And whether we've had big financial successes, we have other stories, and we have a right to our lives and aspire to what we want to be, and even fail. We have the right to fail. Believe it or not, people don't talk about the right to fail, but you have the right to try, you have the right to fail. A number of times I've failed miserably. Like I said, I want to be a Holocaust historian. I would have needed the PhD in history. I certainly could have done the history part of it. I got my bachelor's degree in history, but I couldn't master the languages like my mom could, and you need fluency in those languages to do primary sources of documents, so I couldn't meet that. And then I ended up getting a master's degree in counseling. I did that for a number of years and then moved away from that. But I think my greatest thing that I really enjoyed and still enjoy is writing. I love to write, and I use that on Facebook a lot. And I've published booklets, self-published booklets. I've had articles published in the Providence Journal, American Dane, and different Rhode Island Jewish Herald. So I've not been a big success, but the writing became very important to me, and that's how I did report the Holocaust and the things I saw on trips, like my last trip in April to Poland, and the other trips that I took to Germany and Czech Republic and Italy and Austria and England and Denmark and Belgium and France and Switzerland, and I mean, I've been all over Europe. So in a way, what I aspired to be did come true in a different kind of way. I did end up being a mom and a grandma to a grandson without muscular dystrophy. That was certainly a miracle. But I would just say to people, don't dismiss people like me, that I don't have the 6-digit income, or that I don't live in a beautiful home. I mean, I did have a home in Warwick, Rhode Island, and it was okay. I did a lot with it, but that's not my reality now. I certainly don't live in a 5-star house now, very far from it. Even though I live in a very good neighborhood, the house definitely doesn't fit that description. But what I'm saying is, I have realized my potential as a person in other kinds of ways besides finances, and someone like me could easily be dismissed as a failure, actually, because I just don't have the 6 digits of the big bank accounts and that kind of thing. But I've contributed to society in other kinds of ways, especially my volunteering. I hope I've contributed in that way. And there's other people like me who just fell in between and succeed in some things and failed in other things, and our lives count. And you know, I mean, if I died in the Holocaust, I wouldn't have a stone up in Treblinka or a monument to me. I would be just one of the 6 million that would be murdered, a number. But those 6 million people were not numbers. They were people with individual stories, a variety of experiences and backgrounds and education. And even as Jews, different observation levels and different lifestyles. My mom came from Vienna. She was a urban Jew, even though she knew the Yiddish too. Her first language was German, and she was well integrated into Viennese society, whereas you had some Jews in Poland who lived in little villages that only spoke Yiddish. They would have had a very different life than my mom. My mom luckily survived. But there were others in Vienna who didn't survive. And just let's not stereotype people, even when we're stereotyping ourselves and we're trying to do it in a good way. It's not really good. Even a good stereotype is not a good stereotype. And we just have to consider all of the 6 million that perished in the Holocaust as individuals and not stereotype as the top members of society. They were Jews who were murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators, and they all had different stories, and that's how we have to accept that.